night.
Just in case of emergency, there's a mission by the name of Gregory.
On them be like, only you alone can quench this thirst. Hold up.
Liquid, Jamaica's finest.
Sorry, man. Skipped on to the next tune. Still, yeah. Yeah, out there in the Benz like Spraggle. One bag of weed and bumper clock grab. One bag of gun like shot. One bag of gun like they got them with not. Mama, I'm a rascal baller, judger. Walk on, what you telling me, man? OG Blockery up in this BDH? Yeah, man. So, he's gonna do a review today, yeah? Comparison study. We was going to do a comparison study, yeah? Dookie Gold's put his stream on private still. So, I'm going to get him to send me a copy of the stream so I can record the bits that's relevant. And then we'll do a proper comparison on Friday still, yeah? So, yeah. Alright, brother. See you less, man. Yeah, so... The comparison can't be done on camera today, but yeah. The comparison don't even really need to be done anyway, yeah, but for the purposes of transparency, yeah, and remix reasonings, we are 100% gonna definitely do Nixie struck with Dookie for Nixie struck a Dookie for copyright. Now Nixie firing reciprocal strikes. God damn. God damn. So that means that stream might be gone. Lord have mercy. I don't. Why would that stream be gone, man? Did he play any of Nixie's videos on that stream? Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Yeah, man. Yo. So I think I might have got a life. Huh? Lord have mercy. That's one for the remixes, boy. I can't believe it. So yeah, hopefully it's a different show that got struck, so we can have a little look. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. So I'm hearing still. I was looking for his channel. Sure, I was looking for his channel. I couldn't even find it. How about that? I was looking for his channel. I couldn't even find it still. You know, obviously I'm at work. You get me? Yeah, man. So, alright, so we ain't got that. Yeah. We still got music though, innit? 'Cause I didn't do no research for our show today. Like, true stories, I was mad busy, yeah? And I got a clip in, someone sent me a clip. So I quickly done a, you know, but yeah, man, alright. Right, man.
New herbal essences, uncapped.
Oh, shit. Air traffic. One sec. Un momento, por favor. Silencio! Alright. Let me load up the cannon. How you mean? Yeah, man, this should be a G-Block anthem, a lie? You know, hunger.
People don't come in hunger.
And then I pray for my downfall. I G-Block make me stronger. No hope and pray. Hope and pray. That's why the life of pray. Ah. Hope and pray. Ah, click it, Ayaga. I want them feel like, man. Man said Jupiter was banging this tune out of a Citroen Saxo when she drove past me. I swear they got a Corsa. Must have been the wrong Jupiter. Hey, man. Yeah, man. So, yeah, man. True is going to do a comparison study. And Bumbleclad, I think he goes, stream got struck. Double Clad. Hey, I tell you what though, yeah. I'll tell you what though, yeah. Imagine even that pussy old Blacktooth Kaylee is calling Bigger the Pagan and saying, don't try to use my trauma as a way to score points, you fat bitch. Mad. Yeah, man. So Big Ed's so transparent. Even Kaylee can see through you. But yeah. I saw it go, man. I saw it go. So, you get me? True, I can't do a review of them other bits or whatever. We might just make it a quick one. Let me choose working class patriot, you know. Man! Alright. Well. Looks like we've had a change of plan, eh? So we got a debate on our hands. Man! There you go. Yeah, true stories. I was gonna make it a quick one or whatever in it because I didn't really do a research for a stream, any videos or topics to speak on or blah 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 blah. Yeah. So yeah, man. We got the working class patriot out there in the dunya. Hey Dave, you gotta do me a favor though, cause you have to answer questions though, yeah. Just tell me about okay, whatever. Okay, whatever. Car. That's not an answer. If anything, yeah, that's a more admission of what I'm saying. Yeah. All right. There we go, man. Like Digga Dave. What's going on, mate?
How's it going?
What's happening? You right, yeah? Long time. Been trying to draw you out for a little while, man. I noticed you got the bulletproof shield on, yeah? You tried you tried the fucking the Teflon and the and the Kevlar. Hey.
I wasn't aware of. I wasn't aware of any draw outs or anything. What's the
Yeah, no,
issue?
I just mean I've been calling your name on stream for about a week, 2 weeks or something, but yeah,
Oh,
you
what
didn't
for?
bite still, man. You didn't bite. You didn't. Nah, for nothing, man. Just to fucking join you on the panel and have a debate, you know. Chat still.
Oh, right.
Man.
Pause.
What's going on, bro? What you saying, man?
Not much. Not much. I don't know. Me to talk about whatever, really. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever's the topic of debate, I
Yeah,
guess.
there weren't really a topic here. I was supposed to be doing a comparison between Jupiter's insult to Lady D's dead child and my insult to Kaylee's dead dad to see if one is worse than the other and blah 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 blah. It's kind of dumb anyway, yeah, because obviously context is key. Like the context to one is not the context to the other. The context to one, i.e. the first we're speaking about with Lady D's child. Lady D weren't even on the panel or weren't even throwing any sort of insults, wind-ups or whatever, Big Ed's way or any of them lots. And
Yeah, that's a good point.
Betty just started singing about so-and-so's dead kid. Go and find the murderer, go and find the murderer. And then when I dashed Betty off, I was saying, whoever agrees with this year, because I remember, well, obviously you might not know, but at the time I weren't even listening yet. I've just quickly listened to see if, or jumped on backstage to see if anyone wanted to get added before I go to sleep. So when I was jumped on backstage, I could just hear Betty saying, go and find the murderer, go and find the murderer, go and find the murderer. Yeah, and Scientific and Chrissy Morris is trying to get her to stop. So when I dash her off saying, yo, like, this isn't like someone's dead child, bruv, like, we didn't fix that, come off, man, blah, blah, blah. Anyone that agrees with that, you can leave as well, or whatever. Jupiter turns around and says, yes, I agree with that, so I'm leaving anyway. Yeah? So, and then popped off a stream, I think it was the next day, talking shit or trying to remix or whatever. And I said, well, but you want to diss dead children? And she said, yes, I want to diss dead kids. Lady D, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you know how the rest goes. So, in my opinion, yeah, that's not the same scenario as fucking, say, every and any opportunity that Kaylee's had to either call my name, post what she thinks is my address, try to contact my children's school, yeah, which you have to do anyway because that would be weird anyway, or just all these different bits and pieces. Of course I'm going to tell her to go and suck out, brother. You mad? I don't know what you're talking about. So the two scenarios don't even match up or whatever. Obviously the only thing that you can say is that, right, I dissed a dead person and she dissed a dead person. Do you get me?
How did it?
Can't really
How did
make
he
a
get that?
comparison between the two scenarios.
How did it get that serious and personal with you and Kaylee, where she's like, she fucking?
I don't know what the fuck I've done to this little lunatic, fucking skaghead Kaylee, yeah. But she's on my nuts, cuz I can't open YouTube without 10 million apps.
Yeah, but you know you fucked up when you reacted to her. That's what.
Yeah, I know. That's what it is, isn't it? But you think about this though, cuz yeah, for months, not even for days, you know, for months, cuz like, man, just been ignoring this kind, innit, man. I told her to suck her dad one time now, and you know, it's just that adds on to the stalking. You know what I mean? Like,
she comes from me from. Yeah, she comes from me like from time to time. Like, I'd fallen out with her, but I just don't entertain it. I don't like thinking into. There's no rhyme or reason to it, really.
I hear you still. Hey, do you know what it is? Yeah, true stories. I probably would have ignored you, but I clicked onto a Dookie stream. Imagine I just clicked on there. The first thing I heard, Velly, clown, Velly. I'm like, the fuck, this bitch is stalking. As soon as I come out the fucking, put my eyes in the chat. You hear me, cuz? So, no, fuck that, man. You can't just be running me off this place, that place, and the other, cuz, man. You can go and suck your mum, fam. You mad?
Fuck it up. It's a bit nuts.
So, in your opinion, you ain't got to take anyone's side or whatever. What's your opinion of the two scenarios?
I can see the point you're making. Obviously, you got a direct back and forth going with Kaylee, so that's like a bit more understandable. Obviously, it's personal. Both are personal, but the other one was a bit more random because she wasn't actually having an argument with that person at that time. So it was a bit more spiteful.
Yeah, well, that's really the point that man's really even making, innit? Yeah, but you know, like the man them that's doing their simping. First, the main simp here, simp number one, yeah, Adam the Cuck Smith, yeah, was he's got a fucking super grip right now, yeah, because he done a screen recording of just no context to the video. You hear me? So, yeah, so he's got me saying whatever, but you know, I was gonna play the video so you could see what actually did happen in it, but you know, we ain't gonna be able to get no context on that now unless Nixie removes her strike from that video. We get to review that, and I can.
What was
I can say that I doubt that's gonna happen, innit? I'm sure, man. Nixie and Hadouki's in some strike war, innit?
All right.
Yeah, in some striking war still, man. So you know that's not making that too well.
No, but here's the thing, right? If you listed your ban on Jupiter and she came back, all these people backing her. No, I'm just saying, like, hypothetical. All these people backing her are just gonna be left looking like thingy because she's got no loyalty to no one. So she said today she could come back. She'll come back, and then everyone that's been backing her will be like, "What the fuck?"
Like, bro, how many times have you backed it for fucking Big Ed and then you got dashed under the bus, yeah? Is obviously should really be the the blueprint of how relationships or how online friendships can pan out, right? So
yeah, look, Jupiter lives for this stuff, right? This is her bread and butter. This is what she does. She's like, these people are against me. People, you know, like the whole puts a load of bollocks, really.
But yeah, man. So I signed up to Hope Not Hate, Dave. Yeah, I'm a Hope Not Hate Rasta now. I've been getting paid by fucking what's his name? Nick Knowles, Mandy, and Mossad. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, goddamn, like all sides. So yeah, just don't tell Dent arrogant though, man. Goddamn, you're gonna cry.
I'm getting pulled into a shitstorm here, man. You got me talking about Jupiter. It's fucking thing. It's like fucking. I'm getting pulled into all kinds of shit here. I don't know. I don't know about this YouTube
something else though. If you got something that you wanted to drop a bomb with, then
not really.
We can let go from there, man. What do you think about the Iran-Israel situation? Like, you bothered about that, or is it like too far away from the shores?
Yeah, I've tried not to get involved with it too much. To be honest, it's a bit. I don't know. It's a bit of a distraction, really. But like, I see it from different perspectives.
Oh shit! Hey, Dave. I know something that you would want to speak about. Yes, Baroness Casey's review of the ICSA report, right?
Yeah.
It's the levels of Pakistani offenders within, or that's been earmarked within the grooming gang cases and all that sort of stuff there. Like, so, what's your thoughts on that so far? Then build up or the fallout of that so far.
I think it was undeniable, so they're trying to manage it. And I think this inquiry that they're going to do, they're going to whitewash it. And they're going to involve other things in it. And
they're going to do some whitewashing on top of the next inquiry.
Yeah, of course. They're going to, the national inquiry they're going to do, yeah, they're going to include other stuff in it. They're going to look to water it down.
That's wild still, man. But Baroness Casey, in that review of the report, the audit has said things that other politicians or other civil servants and members are facing, politicians or MPs and blah blah blah, that none of them have said in it. Like she specifically said that there's an issue with Pakistani men in this grooming thing.
Other
So what
politicians
could
have
they
said
come
that.
up? How can they wipe
Dominic
it from
Cummings has been saying.
that onwards?
Dominic Cummings has been saying that.
No, but I'm saying that she done a review of the report, right? Like,
Yeah.
basically, yeah, Baroness Casey has done reports upon reports for the government. She was even involved in a part of the first ICSA report.
Yeah.
So,
But her
and
finding
also a
is what
person
every
that had
no,
said,
but yeah, but
so,
this is
go on.
just what's been known. Yeah, but her findings is just what's been known, right? Like I said, they're just trying to manage this thing. It's not going away. It's getting bigger. It's getting louder. So they've done this in an attempt to control it. And I believe when they
So what-
do the national inquiry, they are going to look to manage it and do damage limitation.
when you say it's getting like bigger and louder, like, what do you mean? Like the voice is calling for an inquiry, or
I mean,
The
Rupert Lowe's doing his
topics
Rupert Lowe's
surrounding
doing his own inquiry. Rupert Lowe's doing his own inquiry, which he's raised nearly £1 million for. I mean, it's in Dominic
yeah,
Cummings.
I don't think they
Dominic
could
Cummings,
let Rupert Lowe do his inquiry and not have their own audited inquiry or. Sorry, go on, carry on.
Well, Dominic Cummings is blowing the whistle, isn't he? He's telling people how government and civil servants were blocking the news from reporting on these cases. But they're saying what we've known for such a long time, right? People, we've known these things have been going on. We've known it's true, and there's been different stages. People in the beginning tried to deny it was happening, then they tried to deflect, and then it's just gone on and on and on. Where people have just done different things to just try to cover this thing up. Some people have done it because they don't want their community to look bad. Some people have done it because they don't want religion to look bad.
So-
Some people have done it to protect.
Hey Dave, what would be an outcome in this report that you think would be like a win for what you've been campaigning for, or what you feel like you've been trying to make voices for?
Yeah, police officers.
Police officers getting arrested for allowing things to
Of
happen.
course, 100%. Police
Yeah.
officers go to jail, civil servants go to jail, councillors go to jail, social workers go to jail. But they won't. Not
Hey
one
Dave,
of these
also,
people
yeah,
goes to jail. Oh, you cut out there.
you've
You cut
done
out.
a good few reviews on probably every single Grape of Britain documentary or whatever there. I noticed there's a new remix going around now, yeah, that that Velly's been capping for grooming gangs and all them sort of things there. Like, have we been on the panel where I've been capping for grooming gangs or anything that could be deemed as groomers being able to take advantage of children? Can you remember anything like that? Because
No, but
well,
it does
let me not
seem
sway
like
your
from
answer.
your
You give your answer.
no, but it does seem like from your side and you personally, it does seem like you do give pushback when people do just simply tell the truth about what's been going on, right? There's been an effort for a very long time. But like I can remember when Maku and Jedi and them guys was basically fucking outright denying it, and then he just progressed in this corner of YouTube. You've had two sides. You've had Raj and people like that, like myself, on their side, and then you've had people on that other side where they're just trying to shut down that conversation. So
That's bad still,
Your
man,
per-
because I've always actually been a supporter of Raj, innit? Like, I ain't really been on the anything like this is not true or whatever. Just try to go with what the stats, facts, and figures say. So, if a report is produced that says certain scenarios are happening, or these people are overrepresented, like it had said in previous reports, then that's really what man would run with, innit? Rather than
yeah, of course, you
what
was
anyone
you
else is just
obviously
saying.
yeah you. Of course, you can have the defence that you was misled also, like a lot of other people, but ultimately we was right in what we were saying. Like it was going on, and it was going on at, on a large scale.
Yeah, but well, I don't think anyone. Well, let me not argue for anyone else in it. I don't think I ever made an argument to say that there's no such thing as a grooming gang or grooming gangs. My argument always was that yeah, let's ban all these nonsense or whatever, but let's not chase these nonsense in the aim of forgetting about any other nonces or bacons that are carrying out similar or the same thing to it. Even like when I was saying to specifically Den Tarragon about white grooming gangs, he's telling me they don't even exist. So that's really where my argument is with the grooming gang sort of people or whatnot. Like, it seems like a man didn't want to chase brown nonces and not any others.
Yeah, but that's the problem, isn't it? We listened to that every time we spoke about this. We never would have spoken about it because that was the argument every single time. And the reality was it was being hidden and it was being covered up. And people, again, had motives for doing it. Certain people did have motives. Certain people didn't want their community to look bad. Certain people didn't want their religion to look bad. So they just literally tried to hide this thing. But again, if we listened to people when they were saying that, oh, well, there's white nonsense or so on and such forth, then this would never, ever, ever have got highlighted or thingy. Because ultimately, you'd just be focusing on what people like yourself want us to focus on.
Nah. I'm not saying that we shouldn't focus on grooming gangs or anything to do with that. I'm saying that the man them recognizing that there's an issue in one corner and turning a blind eye to the other corner.
Yeah, but that's really where you've got to now provide evidence that there is a cover up on a wide scale, and they're hiding white grooming gangs because white grooming gangs do exist. Of course, they exist. Like, this is a predominantly white country, right? The majority of people in this country is white. So obviously, there's going to be a high representation in those numbers. But the bottom line is, you got to then show me, because we can show you where they've hid from the bottom to the top, from the media to the government to the police forces, where they've hid these crimes. You got to then present that evidence that people have been covering up and hiding white paedophiles and white grooming gangs. Because every time they bring forward a white grooming gang, they've been caught and they've been convicted.
Well, it was like when they was doing them investigations, like, you see, like the ICSA report was mainly surrounding things like Dolphin Square and blah blah blah, and that's more institutional and higher up places in this taking advantage of people in care homes and blah 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 blah, rather than the average like with the Pakistani grooming gang thing. Those are just not normal, but the average working class, middle class, or whatever person that doesn't have, well, in the at the lowest level, it's just on the ground, innit? So I'm not too sure. Have they ever done an investigation, like a report into grooming gangs like that?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure quite what. I don't even quite understand what you're saying. What do you mean? What kind of grooming gangs? What do you mean?
Like, do you mean like? Because obviously, you're talking about the Pakistani thing, right?
Yeah.
But have they done a grooming gang? Because I've not seen an actual grooming gangs report on the group-based sexual assaults against children. That's what they officially call it, right? Group-based sexual assaults against children.
Yeah. But we now know that they was only recording the racial makeup of only certain people.
2/3 of the ethnicities weren't recorded.
Yeah, for a reason, right? We know that, right?
So if 2/3 of the ethnicities ain't recorded, if they come back with new figures that show different stats,
it's all white people.
Yeah, well, if they just come back with different, I'm not even going to say one way or the other. If they just come back with different stats, that show different things, and differently, I don't know how they're going to be able to come up with new numbers if at the time they've not recorded the ethnicity. But, well, actually they could, right? Because they've still got the people's actual name and all that, right? So, in theory, they can still have a sort of carry out a survey of the different ethnicities of people that come into that catchment. So,
yeah, but here's the reality.
Like, if the numbers are unfavourable to you, would you think that they're trying to cover it up?
Yeah, like I've said already, we already know what's been going on, and we know the scale it's going on at. If they whitewash this report, I wouldn't be surprised. But there
What
isn't
if the
a
numbers are
fear or an
favourable to?
hesitation. No, but Veli, there isn't a fear or an hesitation to convict white working class paedophiles or grooming gangs. There's no one out here running a conspiracy in the media or the government to hide those crimes. That's the point. So if the people who are out here talking about any form of other paedophilia or anything, the abusing Kim and all these types of things, they ain't got a gang of people turning up trying to silence them. That's the difference. And that's what people have done when people have been speaking about the crimes that are being committed. You got to understand, Veli, right? Because you'd be in exactly the same boat as me if this was happening. If white men was going outside of their community to target black children at the scale that Pakistani men are targeting white children, you also would be saying, what the fuck is going on? Because sadly, the reality is, and it doesn't make it right, the majority of abuse goes on with inside people's communities, and abusers abuse people that they have access to, which 9 times out of 10 is someone who's the same race as them. So this
Personally,
is
yeah,
a phenomenon.
I do believe that there's a lot more abuse cases and people being abused in that style of manner by multitudes of ethnicities that don't get reported.
Right. Okay. Yeah, but if you look at things like county lines and these types of things, young people are being exploited, and it's basically like they're being held hostage. They're
I
having
would say
sexual
that's the male
crimes
version
committed.
of grooming gangs. That's the male version of grooming gangs, and even some girls do get caught up into that as well, right? Because the same
Yeah, but
sort of things happening with the boys.
this was brought to my attention. The young boys and girls are being sexually exploited as well. They're
Yeah,
being recorded committing carrying out sexual acts, and then they're having that recording held against them, boys and girls.
yeah.
Yeah, so
In a lot of the
they
county
need,
lines cases, right?
yeah, there needs to be a national inquiry solely for that. That needs to be focused on. That needs to be targeted, and that needs to be stopped, because you've got young people that are
Ain't
basically
that what
being.
Baroness Casey's gonna do though?
Yeah, of course, she's gonna tie this into this, and then at the end of it, you might pop up where there's more black corporates.
Yeah, I'm expecting there to be a higher number or whatever, because
they want
the same thing.
if
They're
fucking
saying,
skew
wait,
the
hold on,
numbers.
bro. Listen, you should be expecting all the numbers to rise because they haven't recorded every ethnicity in this thing.
Yeah, for a reason, because it looks bad, because it's been carried out by one ethnicity. If it's white people, Veli, or black people,
Hold on one sec here.
yeah. If it was white people, they wouldn't have an hesitation to recording those crimes. That's the entire point. Yeah. But this is the thing. People do this deflection. What about? Yeah. You know what I mean? You can have someone, they can be stood up there all day, every day, talking about the abuse that goes on in the church. I will never turn up and counter signal that person. I will never do it. So, fuck all you people who do.
No, but I don't think that anyone was protesting against children being abused or whatever. People was more coming up because the man they were leaning towards the far right thing and blah blah blah. So a lot of the.
So what about Raj? What about
we
the target?
saw
What about the targeted harassment? What about the targeted harassment?
Wait, let me finish here. The protest, the counter protest that we saw anytime, say Tommy Robinson had a protest, them men are calling themselves stand up to racism, this, that, and the other. They're not like saying, we're anti or we're against flipping grooming gangs being stopped or what.
Yeah, but what Tommy Robinson
I never
was
seen
highlighting
like a
was
protest
true.
like that.
Yeah, but what Tommy Robinson was highlighting and saying was true, and he was calling it racist. In the beginning, I can show you clips from the BBC where people are on the BBC, a panel show with an audience, and the man tells people what is going on in these northern towns, and the entire audience calls him a racist and a liar. And this was an academic, by the way. This wasn't Tommy Robinson, far right. It was a fucking academic.
there's a Labour MP that was speaking about out of Labour as well.
Oh, you broke.
Before Tom Robinson and all that was speaking about it.
Whoever highlighted it.
Can you hear me now? I said there's a there's a Labour MP here that was speaking about grooming gangs like before that as well.
Yeah. Well, whoever highlighted it, whenever they highlighted it, they all appreciated it. But Tom Robinson obviously brought it to the majority and he brought it to the masses, right? But if the reality is though, Veli, if the government and the police did their jobs, Tom Robinson wouldn't exist. Do you know what I mean? He would not be what he is if the establishment did their fucking jobs and they didn't cover it up and they didn't hide it for 40 years. That's really the truth, right? The blame lies with the government.
Why do you think that this cover-up thing had taken place? Like, what's the? There's
a lot of things. Corruption in the police.
What's the reasonings behind that you guys feel like?
Corruption. I think proportions of these police forces in these areas are corrupt. I think they're controlled. I think a lot of it is with fucking people dealing in heroin, bribing officers. There's a lot of corruption going on, and then also there is the optics. There is people who genuinely scared to death of acknowledging that shit, this community is operating in this way, and they're targeting other communities. The optics of it just did not look good. They didn't like those optics.
You know that there's some Muslim children that's been raped by these grooming gang guys. Sort of
more than likely, but it's hidden more in that community, isn't it? That's the thing. They've got this whole honor culture thing, and look, these communities are scared of these people that are operating in this way. They are, and they're thinking like these men commit these crimes, and they go back to the areas where they commit these crimes, no problem. That's abnormal. That's not normal in my community. I don't think it's normal in your community, is it? Serial rapists and pedophiles get to just return back to the estate normal. That's not normal where I'm from, so I don't know. But there's also that thing, isn't it, where it's not as bad because they're doing it to other girls. They're doing it to thing. There is that attitude that it's white girls, they're less than. That exists. There's a massive element of it. You don't think that
their thing is that they're taking advantage of vulnerable children or people in vulnerable positions? Because, you know, like one of the girls that was in the grooming case, she was explaining, like, she said that she's in, her and her mate was feeling a bit rebellious one day. They got some vodka and ran away from the children's home for the night. They see a Don at a cash point and asked him for a light. The dude gave them a light and said, I'll give you a lift down the road or whatever. And then started from there, innit? Started buying them stuff from the shop. Probably when he was saying it, but when they're saying he's buying them stuff from the shop, I'm taking that as to me like things like cigarettes, alcohol, and sort of things like that. Which
Yo, Billy.
Mean like things that they're not allowed to buy in it, basically. But they would feel like because they was being rebellious or whatever, these adults buying cigarettes or alcohol for us is showing us thing of like again, it's the vulnerable situation that people with these people were taking advantage of people in vulnerable situations. And again, if we're going to go by the demographics of the country, the majority of the country would be like white English, right? So
so
in that demographic of people
to
take advantage of.
Right, yeah.
Yo, I don't want you lot to think I'm doing a thriller. I don't want you to think I'm doing a thriller, but I've genuinely jumped on to just agree with everything what Dave just said, right? The difference, I think, for me was from what Dave's saying now to what Tommy Robinson was saying, there is a slight difference, which is Tommy Robinson was literally blaming the entire British Ummah of Muslims and saying it comes from their religion, from their book. And I think that's what got people triggered to kind of like give him a bit of pushback on that subject. And secondly, Dave's also done the right thing and said the police and social services are partly to blame. Tommy Robinson, I don't think emphasised that enough for my liking. I think he just tried to fully lay the blame at the door of the community and then like basically associate the thugs and the gangsters within the community with the community at large. Dave's
Yeah,
done the
that's
right
not
thing
true.
and said that.
Yeah, but that's not true.
Just how I remember it because it was years ago, yeah. But this is the kind of like the triggering part of it. That's why people were sort of like anti. Like, there's no Muslim that will stick up for any groomer. You said to us, we're going to hang all these groomers from a lamppost. Every Muslim will co-sign that straight away. It's not about that. Like for us,
Well, even the Muslims are carrying out these crimes. What do you mean? That don't make sense. Every Muslim would agree with that, but there's Muslims committing these crimes.
not,
And how
no,
many
we're
people?
not. What do you mean,
How many
Dave? That's
Muslims?
silly. You're saying to me,
How
You know what
many?
he means,
How
though.
many
You know what he means,
Muslims?
though, man. He
How
means like
how
the
many
Dave, you're
majority
being
of
Muslims?
funny,
people.
Dave. Dave, you're
How
being
many
silly now.
Muslims?
With-
How many Muslims in this community is grassed up these groomers?
I don't know.
How many?
Well, we don't
No
know.
one.
We don't know who's
Is there
grasped on.
stats- is there
Wait,
stats
hold on.
on that? I don't know.
That's an unfair question, though, Dave. Because we don't know how the police have come into the information or how this is. It could have been people that was in the community that seen things that they dislike or whatever. It could have been one of the girls that's gone.
People have combed over every single one of these cases, and there's not been one where they've been grassed up by an individual from that community. Because let's get it right, the entire community know what's going
That
on. You've had
information
dads-
wouldn't be public, though, right?
No, but it would be
Unless
public
you
that
are in
they,
court giving evidence. Like the original, wait, Dave, listen, yeah? You know this as well, right? Like the original phone call to a police to, light touch paper, should we say, yeah? Get the investigation started. That wouldn't be recorded in an investigation or whatever. Like, so I'm not too sure if we can do that. Did anyone inform the police or whatever?
well, let me reword what I'm saying then, right? You've got dad, brother, cousin, uncle, all engaging in the abuse of children, right? This is a fucking entire family activity in some cases. You telling me that people weren't aware with what was actually going on in these areas? It was common knowledge.
You know, I'm not saying that people weren't aware. I'm just saying that we can't say either way that whether who made the police aware or made contact to, or how many times the police were called by a certain community or a certain demographic regarding.
But that's been the
sad
thing. But that's been the sad thing about this entire thing, right? Because unfortunately, the overwhelming majority, well, in fact, all Muslims I've seen have just completely gone against anybody highlighting this. Literally,
Well, apart from me agreeing with you just now, you mean?
Yeah, you're doing that now. Back then, you was on that side, signaling everyone.
I'm trying to show you that the specific points that Muslims were giving pushback on were highly triggering to them, and because of the way it was framed.
Yeah, you've got that honor culture, and people was trying to hide the crimes of the community because it looked bad.
I'm saying to you, Dave, the way you laid it out just now to Veli when I wasn't there, right? It seemed completely reasonable, 100% reasonable. Everything was thought out. Basically involved the police, social services, everything. Yeah, that statement on its own, no one could argue. All right, brother. No one could argue with that. What you just said, but I'm saying to you that I personally feel that when you say that it's the whole community, right? Then you're going to get a bit of pushback from that. When you say it's from the religion,
Tommy Robinson's never said that. Tommy Robinson
he has, and you would say that as well. If I give you the opportunity now, Dave, you've just said it yourself just now as well.
What?
That it's the whole community knew about it and they're to blame. But we're saying, as the community, we're saying, yeah, but the buck stops with the police. If the police are saying,
what I'm saying is, sorry, let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question, right?
Of course you can, Dave.
What has gone wrong with certain Muslims in this country where they can go to the mosque, right, and then directly afterwards go and abuse a child? What has gone wrong there?
They're racist.
They're racist, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is racism.
Well, yeah, you're saying they're targeting white girls, isn't it? White is a race, isn't it?
But can we not say what is going on with this community? Why they? Because we're not seeing.
They're racist. They're racist. Even Raj laid it out. He said they look at white girls as lesser than. They wouldn't take them home and introduce them to their mums and marry them. But they'll do all sorts of things on the street with them. Yeah, that's wrong. That's wrong. Dave.
Yeah, but
so I'm just trying to answer your question. That's all. I'm not doing no big speeches today.
No, but we're I don't know. Obviously, people.
Dave, what I'm trying to say to you, if you say that it's from Islam and it's from their book, you've indirectly involved every Muslim up and down the country.
Yeah, but some
to
cases
basically-
are.
What do you mean?
Some cases are. Some girls have literally been branded.
Yeah, but you're saying
girls
branded with an M, right?
Some girls, this is witness testimony. Some girls had the Quran read to them.
Yeah, them man are spastics, bruv. They're crazy nutcases, like
Well, there
Asketi
you
type.
go. If
They're mad.
you got people who
They can't make
identify
the
as
community
Muslim,
responsible. You can't make the community responsible for the nutters, bro.
if you got
That's
people
what
who
I'm trying to say.
identify as Muslim, go to the
Yeah.
mosque,
Yeah,
the whole 9 yards, and then they're conducting in this type of behavior. Questions do need to be asked, right? What is going on? What's gone wrong? Because if white men, let's say if white men was going outside of their community and targeting young Turkish girls, people
Yeah.
were going, "What the fuck is going on here? Something's wrong."
of course. And I think you're right
So-
that we should highlight that there is something wrong. But it's where you're attributing the blame to. Because if you're saying that, listen, there is a type of Islam, same way that there's a type of Judaism, right, that is based on an ethno-religion, right? They have a version of that. And that's the ones, you look at them specifically, their ethno-religion means they can't marry anything but their cousins. So to them, other women are fair game for any kind of like interactions that don't involve family or marriage or future building or whatever, right? That's their mentality. That's not from Islam, though. That's my point.
Yeah.
That's their version. That's their skewed version of Islam, where they're not thinking like Turkish people. They're not thinking like Albanians. They're not like, all right, I'm not saying we ain't got gangsters. We've got fucking more gangsters than them. That's not the point. The point
Yeah, but
is,
you've kind of defeated your own argument because you've
Go
just
on.
said that it is. You just said it is a brand of Islam.
yeah, it is. It's a branch of Islam.
Right.
Yeah.
So if people identify,
But I'm saying to you,
there's something wrong here. There's
Yeah.
something wrong with this. If people
Yeah.
identify, there's something wrong here. Maybe
No, I'm agreeing
something
with
these
you.
guys are learning and being
Yeah.
taught is causing
Yeah.
them to commit these fucked up crimes.
But look,
Then
I'm
yeah,
saying to you, babe, what I'm trying to explain is that it's a fusion, isn't it? It's like ethno-religions are always a fusion of the book, the direct scripture, and their interpretation of it that applies to their particular tribe. So they have their tribal practices and they kind of combine the two to create their own little diverse group. That's what they've done, right? So when they've come over to this country, they've stuck with that. They've stuck with their little internalized version of religion, right? But Islam doesn't say that. Islam says every human being that you see is a potential Muslim. If anything, you should treat them better and be a good example to them. Not fucking involve them in crime, for fuck's sake. Like, that's not from the book. That's their own ethno ideology. It's like Israel now. If I said to you, what's going on in Israel? People saying Israelis are the new Nazis. No, but we know Jewish people. We've lived in England alongside Jewish people. We know that that's not representative of Judaism. But their ethno-religion makes it where they don't want Palestinians around them. They're saying, no, we're going to put a wall and you lot get on the other side of it. Because it's
Great Flanders said, explain about that sect of Islam that practices sex slavery. Fuck you know, man.
Slavery.
Yeah,
I don't think slavery is banned in religion, in any religion. I don't think slavery is banned.
So we've gone from you can't blame Islam to now it really is actually
No, I'm
about
not
Islam.
saying you can't.
So it's
Dave,
like,
I never said
what
you can't
is
blame
going
Islam.
on?
Dave, calm down. I've never said you can't blame Islam. As an Englishman, I'm not expecting you to be able to differentiate between different sects of Islam. I'm not, right? But when I'm saying to you, the reason why
But Islam is a problem here in this scenario, then, right?
No,
it's not.
my point.
The form of Islam that they're following isn't justifying them doing this. No,
I'm saying to you, it's not just down to that Islamic belief. It's a fusion of their ethnic identity with their religion. They made their ethno-religion. You see what I mean?
Right.
I think that's a valid point. You might not want to say,
but they can't find justifications in what they're doing in the Quran.
I'm not trying to talk over you or railroad you into some different point other than what you're making. I'm just trying to show you that there's trigger mechanisms that people respond to. And if you say this is from Islam, we're going to say, all right, where's the chapter? Where's the verse?
But you just said it is religious.
No, I said it's an ethno-religion. There's no ethno-religion that comes from a book, Dave. It's a tribal practice.
Right, okay. But so when I said, so you obviously misspoke there, because when I said to you then they are carrying out a form of Islam, and you said, yeah, it's like a bad sect or something. You didn't mean to say that, though.
Yeah, what I'm saying is the bad things that they do or believe, it ain't from the book or from their version of the book, but it's how they interpret it. So when it's preached from the pulpit, it's added a slant to it. You get what I mean?
Right.
But it's not actual scripture. Like you wouldn't be able to go and look. Like I speak to rabbis on a daily basis. Rabbis are telling me that they advise Netanyahu's Knesset, right, and everything that they do is according to their book, and they can show you chapter and verse of everything what they advise the leadership to do. But what actually ends up happening when it comes to military application, they're saying, well, you can't blame us for that because that's the government putting their angle on it as well, on top of what we've advised them to do. But we're telling you it's not against the religion.
No one's blaming all Muslims. No one's out here. Everyone is out here saying all Muslims are groomers, then they're a fucking idiot.
Tommy Robinson did say
never
that.
made that point. No, he didn't.
No, but he's saying that every Muslim.
Find me the clip of him saying that. He's never said that in his life.
Be honest, he said that not only the Muslims in his country, but the ones that are on the way coming here are all potential groomers. Him and Elon Musk have said that.
Right. Okay. That's your interpretation. But Tommy Robinson's
you don't have to take my look. You don't have to take.
Tommy Robinson's never said all Muslims are groomers.
Yeah, that's when you're saying it's from the book. That's what that implies. You'll say anyone who follows this faith, anyone who believes this, right, is being given the green card.
No, because thankfully, there are a lot of people who classify themselves as Muslim or better than the ideology that they follow, right? Thankfully, I've seen Muslims justify marrying children. I've seen Muslims justify slavery. I've seen some fucked up shit. Thankfully, a lot
with
of
the slavery thing, I can't argue with the slavery thing because slavery is like a caste. It's like not a caste. It's a social status, right? If you're a slave and you've got the opportunity to buy yourself out of slavery or to move up socially within the society, then it's not the same slavery as when we say slavery, what we think about, right?
Right.
So it's a different
what if you don't have the opportunities to buy yourself out?
Well, then you're stuck in perpetual servitude.
Well, got a nice word for slavery, yeah? So you're not free to do whatever you like. No, you're basically owned by another person.
No slave's free to do like it's like, for example, if you committed a crime and the government's giving you what's it called? When you
this is the problem with Islam, folks.
Paint railings and that. When you got
this is the problem with Islam. It's backward, it's outdated, and it's barbaric. This guy's literally telling us how.
But if you can show me that there's no forms of slavery in the modern day or in the West, then you can make that claim. But you can't.
It's not state sanctioned, though, is it?
Yes, it is. The government's saying to you, community service, you got to go and paint them railings. And you're saying, what the fuck am I, a slave? And they go, no, but you have to. If you don't, you get incarcerated.
Would you have to have had committed a crime beforehand?
Yes.
Right. So what's the criteria to fall into servitude under Islam? Do you have to commit a crime first?
No, they're called captives of war.
Captives of war. Captives of war, right.
Captives of war. So, for example, if France and Germany had a war...
This is all very progressive stuff.
If France and Germany had a war, right, and to get reparations from the losing side, they would force them into basically becoming servants, right? And refixing up the country.
Yeah, it's back. We're more civilized than that.
You got to understand that you're looking at a time in history where there was no prisons, there wasn't imprisonment, right? And there wasn't bank accounts and money and things like that.
You're talking about implementing that today or living by that rule today. It's clearly an outdated
No one's saying that. But no one's saying that ever. No one's ever said that.
You're saying that you would justify this act because you have to.
No, I'm not justifying it. I'm saying to you, according to the scripture, according to the book and the history, I can't tell you, sit here straight face, tell you that slavery didn't exist in the past and was against the religion. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it was against the religion.
Yeah, but we're talking about the implementation of said ideology today, right? And the practices that would be implemented. And we're
you've moved to a different subject. You're moving to a different subject now of implementing Sharia law.
I'm talking about how said ideology doesn't necessarily fit in with the society that we're in, and
of course it doesn't.
Keep causing friction.
No, but 1 minute, Dave. If you're saying if we made the corner of England Sharia, right, would that be a problem? We'll say, yeah, of course that's a fucking problem. You just divided the country, right? What, you're going to have two banking systems and two social services and two separate this and two separate... You can't do that. No one's trying to bring about Sharia under a democratic process. Like, if you're doing that, then you're basically an Islamist. And as an Islamist, You can't do that until you can turn around and say, well, England came to my country and forced us to take on democracy. We want to go back to our previous way of living, like they're saying in Syria. But even then, to function as a state in the modern era, to be part of the United Nations and banking systems and things like that, you still got to come under democracy. But it's just the democracy would then be a higher tier of governance. That's
Yeah,
all
but
it
we
is.
still
You
have.
have localized Sharia.
Yeah, but this is the point. This is the point that we're getting to. We still have a problem and
You ain't
encounter a
getting to
problem
any
with
points as far
people.
as I can see.
We still have a problem, and we have to live with this problem. Where
Which is
people
the problem, Dave?
where people do adopt these beliefs and this way of thinking, which in turn then leads to them behaving like barbaric savages.
I don't agree with that, because if you think about Islam from the inside point of view, which I obviously am, there is certain stipulations in there which makes you know that when you're living in someone else's country, you have to go by their rules, like the when in Rome type thing.
Yeah, but we're
So you
talking
can't
about the
come.
ones. We're talking about the ones that don't think like you. So we're talking about the ones who actually do.
But then
adhere
that's not
to
from
it
the.
and do.
But here's the
It's
thing,
not.
though, Dave. You could
So
pick out five.
you know the true, you know the real version of Islam. Yeah, they don't.
Well,
They don't know the true
it
version.
ain't that I know the true version. It's just that there is actually a criteria, right? So there's you could pick out 5 different things from Islam.
Is the Taliban
and
living
show
by the
them.
true version of Islam?
No. I'm saying to you that
They're
there's
not.
5. You could pick out 5 different things from Islam, but as a layman or as an Englishman, you won't be able to tell me which one is more important than the other one, or which one, legally speaking, is more binding than the other one. But
Right.
someone who knows
Right.
Islam, like these guys do, yeah, or I do, right? I can tell you that the law of going by the country's laws and not being a rebel within a country is literally the highest law. Like, as a visitor to your country,
and all Muslims would agree with you on that. Yeah.
100%. And anyone who doesn't agree with that, is a psychopath.
I think you're doing tequila, mate. I was like, what's going on out
No.
here?
I'm saying to you that anyone who doesn't agree with that is a psychopath. Because the whole point of Islam, Dave, is sovereignty of an individual person, right? Not of a country, of an individual. You're a sovereign being. Everything you do, you're held accountable by God and God alone. If you sign a contract with someone, you got to keep that contract. When I come and get a British passport and I take on British citizenship, that is a form of a contract that I've put my name to, right? In God's eyes, if I break a contract, I'm wrong. If the contract says, well, when you come to England, you got to live by these rules, then I have to do that. I can't come and pretend and say, well, I've changed my mind now. No, that doesn't work in Islam. It's not that. Not that at all. Sorry, Dave. I'm just trying to answer your questions as honest as I can. Like, you could call it taqiyya if you want, but why would I, a literal cultural Muslim and almost on the level of non-practicing Muslim, why would I lie to you?
Because you're not the standard. And there's obviously Muslims that are. There obviously are Muslims that are literally living by a different set of rules than to what you're living to, right?
Yeah, the problem is, Dave, right? Nationally, like you said, Islam and England don't go together, right? Islam and nationalism don't go together. So even in their own countries, Muslims don't fit in, right? Because they've been forced to live under nationalism now, right? And that doesn't apply to a Muslim mindset. That's where they've gone wrong. So what Saudi Arabia did, Dave, I don't know if you know your history, but Saudi Arabia, in the time of Lawrence of Arabia, sided with England, overthrew the Ottoman Caliphate, and they basically set up their own little country, and the rest of the land they handed over to England. And England, Sykes-Picot, drew up all the borders and said, right, this is going to be Iraq, this is going to be Syria, and put down a nationalistic framework, right? On top of the mentality that was already there, which was no borders, right? And free mixing. Like basically, you could move from Palestine to Libya, and you could move from Egypt to Cyprus, or you could do whatever you wanted within the Ummah, right? So it was a different mindset, right? Still to this day, right, Muslims are in that same mindset because for some reason, which I don't know, Dave, Muslims don't want to admit that they lost. They don't want to admit that they lost that and England won and we lost. They don't want to admit that. Like Turks, Ottomans, we would admit that because we ain't got a caliphate no more. We ain't got an empire no more, right? So we know that we lost. But the rest of them were duped into this belief that oh no, this is a step up because now you've got your own country. You don't have to pay tribute to the Ottomans. You don't have to respect the Turks anymore. You've got your own country now, right? And that's what they actually believe. They actually
Yeah, but
believe
the core of what's going on here is there's different types of Muslims. Obviously, there's not one type of Muslim.
100%.
That might be the problem within itself also, because there's always
100%.
the interpretation.
100%.
Oh, to this, to that. But the
Exactly.
bottom line is, yeah, of course.
Exactly.
But we're talking about men that'll go to the mosque on a Friday
The
and then go and
scum,
abuse, abuse
fuck 'em.
children on the Saturday. What is going on with that
I
community?
will batter him myself personally. I'll batter that geezer. And to me, he ain't no Muslim. That means I can batter him and not even feel guilty about it. But
Like
in his
in
eyes,
jails.
he might think that he might think he's a Muslim. I agree with you. He might be coming at the mosque and going to do his dirty behavior. He might be doing that.
But are they finding justification for what they're doing with inside of the text?
I don't think they just like see the thing is with Islam, Dave. It don't just come just from the text. This is the thing where people don't realize. It's like Christianity. When people go to the park and they argue with people like Bob the Builder and they try to catch him out, oh, there's inconsistencies in the Bible. Bob told them, yeah, but as a Christian, my faith isn't based on if there is a mistake in the Bible. That's not what my faith is built on, that, right? But as a Muslim, yours is. But you're trying to put your values on me, and that doesn't work, right? So it's the same in this argument as well. You can't do that. You can't say that Islam is just from the text or just from the because then you've got someone who's a Quranist who don't believe in hadiths. They kick him out. They say to him, well, you're a Quranist. You're not a Sunni then. They just ignore him, right? Then you've got people that like me, for example, Quran and Sunnah and the example of the Prophet and his mates, the Sahaba, right? So you've got to look at all that whole section of literature to make your judgments on. And basically, after these geezers, there was like 1,000 years of scholarship that basically ticked all the dots and fucking put everything together like a proper religion, right? So now we all stand on the same sort of thing. Like Sunni Islam is the biggest sect. Then you've got the Shias on one side. The Shias are basically the Christian version, the Catholic, not Christian, but the Catholic version of Muslims, right? So they believe in saints and they believe that Jesus was like spirit and all the esoteric beliefs and that they've got that, right? Now, the real problem ain't none of these people. The real problem is, like I said to you, ethno-nationalism within the religion, right? So we can see that it's a problem in Judaism. But when we look at Islam, you can see that the Saudi Arabians, the Salafis, right, the Wahhabis are the ones that practice that, right? And they're the ones that made that as a standard across the whole religion. And they've said to everybody, because England, it's like Pico's giving you this country now, this little border, you stay within that border and practice our version of Islam, which is ethno-based, right, religion. And that's the problem now. That's the problem. That ethno version of Islam is being pushed. The Salafi movement's being pushed. And England's part of it, Dave. So England, when they've done petrol deals with Saudi Arabia said to them, we want to be able to send money to your country. We want to be able to convert the Muslims in your country over to our version of Islam. That's what England's agreed to that. England said, yeah, cool, do what you want. We don't give a shit. That was part of the deals that England's made with these people to expand this Salafist movement, right? So what did the Salafis do? What did the Salafis do, Dave? Dave, what did the Salafis do?
Great flag. You make that argument all the time, but it's a false comparison. It is.
Comparison to what? Like, let me just quickly land my point, right?
I'm talking to a great flan. Land your point. Fuck me, man. You've been going.
All right. I know. But I'm just giving you time to think as well. So, like, basically,
I got nothing to think about what you're saying because it's just like.
I know. You're just gonna dismiss it and throw it in the bin because it don't suit your narrative. I know that already. But at least you would have heard it from me. Like, that's basically what I'm saying to you is this Salafi movement that the West have supported were the ones that have said, well, you can't be a Muslim unless you're living within a certain country, right? So if you're Bengali or you're Pakistani living in England, come and fight for ISIS or whatever they're called, right? And we'll give you citizenship to that country then. And that's what they're the ones that are behind this whole thing of getting Muslims from one country, like a Western country, basically Islamism, to go from one country like England to go and fight in a war in Sarajevo against the Russians, or to go and fight in Afghanistan against the Russians. Like they're the ones that That's why Bin Laden was out in them areas, right? Because Bin Laden was a cousin of the Saudi Arabians. The whole Islamist ideology it belongs to them, right? So my argument is only one thing. You got to draw a distinction between the communal garden, everyday variety of Muslim that's in England and has been here since 1950 or whatever, and these new geezers that turn up at Speaker's Corner and start saying Islam's going to take over the world and all this nonsense, right? We're against them, but the British government isn't. That's the problem. The British government supports them. That's the problem. And Tommy Robinson's got a cheek, in my opinion, because Tommy Robinson's outside the courthouse telling Ali Dawah, do you man support YPG, PKK? Do you support them? So he's basically saying they're our boys. How are you, Ali Dawah, going against Tommy Robinson when my boys are out in your country trying to get you a country for yourself because Turkey won't give you one? So shut your mouth. That's what Tommy Robinson said to him. That's at the very end of the video, if you watch it. Tommy Robinson said to him as he's walking away, not him, but his uncle. He said to him, do you not support YPG? And one of the voices, I can't say it was Ali Dawah, but one of them said, yeah, we do. Just like that, straight up. Yeah, we do, he said. Well, that's a terrorist organization, bro. That's a prescribed group.
You've gone off on a tangent. But fucking Great Flant. No, but Great Flant's saying it's a false comparison. If people didn't just wake up one day and go, I've got a problem with Islam, right? People have a problem with certain actions from people who are Muslims, right? People have an issue. People obviously levels of terrorism we've seen, the behavior we've seen at Speaker's Corner. You know, we've got Christian preachers on the streets now being bullied and harassed and intimidated by Muslims. For some reason, Muslims from a certain community.
Where's that happened?
In London.
Never has happened. That's a lie.
Never has. It happened the other day.
Never. What happened?
Okay. The man told him. The man told him, if you deny Allah or Muhammad, watch what happens. A Pakistani man. Anyway. Oh, you knocked me off my train of thought.
So just some street nutcase like the geezer who's burning the Quran.
No, he wasn't a nutcase. No, he's just a normal Pakistani. Because for some reason, the Pakistani community in Britain, some people from the Pakistani community in Britain think they can go around bullying and harassing and silencing people. And this is where we are. It's like the teacher in Batley, Hattoon at Speaker's Corner, just a whole list of people that have been affected by the unfortunate behaviours of certain people from this community. And people have had enough of it, in reality.
My point to you, Dave, ultimately is that if it was framed the way you put it, you wouldn't have had a backlash from Muslims in general, and even the wider English community that supported those Muslims.
Yeah, I don't believe that. There's an honor culture. I don't believe that. There's an honor culture. Like the levels of abuse, sexual abuse that goes on in these communities is the same as it's going on in the white communities. It's just hidden.
No, but I've got no honor. I've got no honor. There's this falsehood. There's this falsehood that is not happening. It's this falsehood that is not happening. No. It's happening. It's going. It's right. No. It's not true what you're saying. It's got nothing to do with honor. I don't know what you're talking about. Honor. Honor is within my own family, right? Honor. Like the geezer who lives across the road from me, his honor. That's his business, isn't it? Like as a Turk,
they don't want the shame. They don't want the shame that it's going to bring on them. They don't want the shame it's going to bring on them. So they've done everything in their power to silence people from talking about it.
No. It's nothing to do with me. This is the problem. What you lot don't seem to understand. You're like, why didn't Muslims do this and why didn't Muslims do that? Yeah, but we don't associate ourselves with these people.
I'm talking about Pakistani Muslims. You're not Pakistani.
Yeah, even Pakistanis, as the whole community of Pakistanis, are not responsible for this little subgroup of Mirpuris within them.
No. I'm talking about certain Pakistani Muslims who have publicly gone out of their way to silence people from talking about this. So what is
if you're dragging their name through the mud and you're calling it Pakistani grooming gangs, obviously they've got a right to defend it.
But that's what they are.
But they don't see it that they're saying that there's a certain subgroup of people within a community that are responsible. That's how they're seeing it.
Right, yeah.
But that's what I'm saying to you, is that these people are a small percentage. They don't represent the overwhelming majority of Pakistanis in Britain.
Well, they're making up one hell of a number in jail, and they're making up one hell of a number when it comes to these.
How many? No, Dave. How many of them are in jail? Not more than 800. 500, 800 of them.
What? No, I'm on about Pakistani Muslims in general. The population.
No. That's what I'm trying to show you. These people that are responsible for these grooming gangs epidemic, right? that particular subsect of the Pakistani community is not a
Here we go.
representative
Here we
of the
go.
whole community. Because there's a
Right,
lot
right.
of Pakistanis in England. A lot.
Yeah, you're missing what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I believe that Pakistani Muslims are overrepresented in the prison population. I'm not talking about
Are that-
subsect,
are
and
they?
I don't mean that they're there
Are
for
they?
sexual crimes. I mean, they could be
Yeah.
there for all sorts of crimes.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I can't answer that. I'm not going to try and cap for anything that I don't know about. I don't know nothing about Pakistanis and their criminal activities. Same as even with Turks and Albania. I'm not a criminal guy. I don't.
Well, we
put
do
in
know
what's
that Islam is on the rise in jail, right? So we do know there's a large
That's
proportion
another
of
problem. That's a different problem. But that's another
Muslims
problem.
in jail.
Yeah, that's a different problem. That's a different problem, which I think Raspek highlighted that when he was on that RTM podcast with Tommy Robinson. He said that people in gangs go around forcing other people to accept their religion. He said that himself. I don't know if you've watched that RTM podcast.
Who's Bird's Nest Ratfest? Who's that?
I don't know. I know him from panels.
Do they
and
jump
that.
on?
He's
Do they
Muslim
jump
though.
on? Do they jump on?
Not on this channel. He jumps up
Oh,
on
right.
Ghost.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he's on Ghost panel. But yeah, like so, cut a long story
His
short,
argument seems to be, oh well, the British Empire did this, so then in turn we should just turn a blind eye. Why?
British Empire did what exactly?
That was his argument earlier in the chat. The British Empire.
What, that the British Empire brought immigrants to the UK?
No. He was just making the argument that the British Empire has done bad things, so then in turn we shouldn't talk about the crimes.
But all empires have done. There's no empire that ain't done bad things, bro. You can go back to the Romans if you want. Like,
No, but
empires are built on.
Yeah, but that's just another prime example of a low IQ deflection, right? You're talking about crimes that are going on, actual factual crimes. Someone turns up telling you about the British Empire. That's a spastic, right?
Yeah, a little bit. What would you want me to say? He's a nice guy, but yeah. What can I say? Yeah, like Muslims, I don't think Muslims should be getting triggered about this and getting defensive about this. Like,
and that's why Muslims should be at the forefront. That's why they should have been at the forefront from the start. And they should have started saying, you lot need to get exposed. You lot need to think it because we can't be having this make our religion look bad. That's what should have happened, but it didn't. It went the other way. Ali Dawah, Muhammad Hijab, these guys did everything in their power to silence people from talking about it.
I don't think they silenced people, but their argument was a bit of a bullshit one. Because like I said, these lot are all Wahhabi Salafis, right? So they're all working for the British government secretly. Like I said to you, Tommy Robinson's basically pulling rank on Ali Dawah outside the courthouse, saying to him, listen, you're my bitch, basically. Ali Dawah couldn't say shit to him, could he? Because that's true. The Kurds are the bitch of the English. The English are telling them, listen, here's the weapons, come and fight this war. And then they're telling everyone, yeah, these guys are great. They defeated ISIS. Anyone could have defeated ISIS. My grandmother with a fucking knife and fork could have beat ISIS. Like, who the fuck got ISIS?
Yeah.
But that's a separate rant. I ain't got no respect for them idiots anyway. Like, them Dawah idiots. I don't think they've done any, like I said to you, they've come to this country, they've been set up in this country to turn normal Muslims into Salafis, into Wahhabis. That's the whole movement at Speaker's Corner. That's the whole psyop going on there. They're either funded by the British government or the Saudi government. Like Shamsi's paid for by Saudi Arabia. Yeah, he argues with Ali Dawah because Ali Dawah was paid for by the English government, but they're still fighting the same cause. They're still trying to tell people, oh, there's rioting on the streets. Muslims are fighting Hindus up in Bradford or whatever. Ali Dawah's going up there telling them to stop fighting. They're going to him, who the fuck are you? Don't even live around here. Oh, but it's not Islamic to fight for your neighbourhood. It's not Muslim to fight for your streets. Like, this is England. The streets don't belong to you anyway. They were like, fuck off, get the fuck out of here. They kicked him out. But Ali Dawah was a prick, bro. Don't know what the fuck he's chatting about, that idiot. Imagine going up to a fucking riot. There's race riots. There's a huge amount of Hindus and Muslims going out in the street. And Ali Dawah's gone up there to have a go at the Muslims and tell them to stop fighting. Like, are you fucking for real? Guy's a paid agent, bruv.
Bird's Nest Ratfest wants me to pray that he don't catch me on the panel. What does he mean by catch me? Is Veli disappeared or something? Can people not get on?
What, you're taking up the challenge now, yeah?
Is
Who's got Veli
is Fel-
WhatsApp? WhatsApp Veli, see if he wants to come and thingy on Ratfest. What is Ratfest up for jumping on? I doubt if
I don't
he's
know.
just talking, man. He's not serious. He's not
Yeah,
serious,
it's,
bro. Anyway,
so
Dave.
he's not. He's not blaming the people who carried out these crimes. He's in turn blaming white people because allegedly white people turned them.
See, that's another
taught
thing,
them how
Dave.
to be rapists.
I don't agree with. I don't agree
Fucking
with all these.
mental.
I don't agree with this thing about white people are more likely to be paedophiles. I think if you look at the stats in any country, the indigenous population are going to be the biggest number for every crime.
Well, yeah,
Right,
in
so
Pakistan, 99.9% of the paedophiles are brown, right? No
Right.
shit, because
This is what I'm saying.
99.9% of the population's brown.
This is what I'm saying to you, Dave. This is what I'm thinking, that these Muslims are triggered and they're trying to give a pushback. They're trying to give a pushback, and that's what their answer is to that question, which I don't agree with. Because obviously I'm 50 years old geezer. Do you know what I mean? I haven't lived anywhere else. I've lived my whole life here, and I've never met a fucking paedophile. Do you know what I mean? Not knowingly, anyway. Like, there's no known paedophiles. Like, all right, there was one geezer in Walthamstow. My neighbour said, stay away from that geezer over there because he nonce'd his own child and he got ended up putting in prison. I was like, all right, thank you for telling me. But apart from that one incident, I can't think of anything else. And he nonce'd his own child, apparently. But I don't even know if that's true, because apparently his ex-wife accused him and ended up doing a bird for it. I don't know what happened there. But I'm just saying, I've never in my life come across any kind of situation like that in England. Like, England is one of the safest places to live. Do you know what I mean? And everyone knows it. Everyone who lives here knows that. Do you know what I mean? You go to other countries, you go back to your own country. You got to watch out even for the police. The police will pull you over and they'll turn you over in your own car. You get robbed. Come on, bro. Let's be real. The world's a dangerous place, man. All right, we're living in a protected bubble. I admit that. Yeah, England is a protected bubble to a certain degree. Maybe not so much nowadays. It's getting a bit like hairy out there with psychopaths running around doing mad things. But I'm saying, up until now, I've had a very protected life. You can make a phone call to the police. Police are on your doorstep in 3 seconds. Whether you're black, white, pink, or green, police is on your doorstep. Like, you don't get that in other countries. You don't get that. You know what I mean? Because that costs money. That's not free, is it? A police force ain't free. Like, I'm never going to be anti-police. Never. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know these people that are arguing against the police. Like, are you fucking crazy? Imagine living without police. I don't care who you are, like, or what the police done to you. I know people, Dave. Dave's gone off the panel, but I know people. Yeah, didn't even say goodbye. Look, I know people, for example, Irish. Yeah, and they live through them, what they call them, the troubles. Right? When they hear police sirens, then people start like having like panic attacks. Like, they're telling me, like, listen, we're not used to this sort of thing, because police to us are like a danger. Right? There's other communities that have similar relationships with the police. Now, that's a different thing. If you've got a problem with the police, right, from historical thingies, situations, fair enough. Yeah, but I'm saying I don't have that issue. So from my point of view, the policeman stops me on the street, I'm being completely cooperative. Like, police can come to my house and go, can we come in? And I'm saying, yeah, come in, sit down, I'll put the kettle on, have a cup of tea. I'm not saying, well, where's your warrant? But that's me. I'm a civilian. I'm not a gangster. Do you know what I mean? Never been a gangster. Not involved in gangsterism. I don't support gangsters. I don't fucking glorify gangsters. I don't sit here watching fucking 3 different versions of the Craze life made into films. I don't watch that. Do you know what I mean? Don't care fucking Tom, what's his name's in it or not. Tom Hardy. I ain't watching that shit.
Oh, you can't listen, you. I got to lock off the show still, man.
Yeah, man, big up, man.
To do with it.
All right, man. Thanks for letting me on, Bill.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I did try to like be fair.
Big up, man.
Dave, big up.
Yeah, say less, man. Big up everyone that tuned in real quick still, man. Back on Friday, innit? Yeah? Big up yourselves.